Hello everyone, welcome to the channel where if you like what you see here, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to get notified when I release a new video. To truly discuss Poland, we first have to understand borders. Borders are one of those things that make sense to you think about it, and for a country whose most notable trait is being invaded, understanding these is important. The important thing to remember is borders don't only divide nations, they separate people. This is why borders try to settle around natural formations that people cannot cross, like rivers and mountains. Especially mountains. But for a mostly flat area like Poland, except in the south, these things are hard to come by. While there are rivers, they do not provide good borders as they bisect the modern-day country, like the Nitz, Vistula, and Bug. Furthermore, for most of history, a country's borders were fuzzy. People would cross back and forth on a regular basis, and not having those borders be defined by hard-to-cross physical geography invites this kind of cultural diffusion. So while a country like this invites the bonus of trade and commerce, it also invites the negatives of the greedy eyes of any stronger, more defined neighbors that see that trade as easy money. While this probably won't come up in this episode, in future parts, Part 2 and Part 3, where Poland gets invaded and divided, this will become very important. The history of Poland begins in the Neolithic era, with Western linear pottery culture sprouting up along the Vistula. And since I'm sure everyone here is well versed in Western linear pottery culture, I'm not going to cover it in this video. Farming reached the Polish lands around 4000 BCE during its Neolithic era. Its Bronze Age happened around 2000 years later. Sometimes I have a hard time putting history in perspective, but that's the distance between us and Jesus time-wise. That contains everything that happened from the beginning of the Roman Empire to now. Moving along, we reach the Iron Age, around 750 BCE. Around this time, we meet one of the many cultures that will inhabit Poland during this period. The Lusatians, who inhabited much of Eastern and Central Europe during the later Bronze Age. Most of what we know about this culture surrounds burial, like many cultures of the time outside the Mediterranean. Cremation was a commonplace, and as such, is believed to be the proper burial they used. They also had a complex metalworking society for the time, molding bronze as well as gold. They might also have had ritual sacrifice and cannibalism. The next visitors of Poland would not come until 400 BC, when the Celts, yes, those Celts whose culture once spanned much of Europe, came to the region. We know much more about these Celts than we do previous cultures that inhabited Poland in earlier periods. The Latin, the Celtic culture that came to Poland, believed to have originated in southern Germany, north of the Alps around modern-day Switzerland. These Celts, however, only lived in the area a short amount of time, when the strong Germanic influence took hold of the Polish region until 500 AD, when the Germans migrated out of the area to sack Rome or something. It was around this time when a new people arrived to the now mostly empty and sparse Polish lands. These people were the Balts, who would later become the modern-day Poles. Here they encountered vast woodlands, plains, and even deserts. They decided to stay, for real this time. These disorganized peoples formed the clans, or what historians now call the Polish tribes, in the 9th century AD. The relatively undisturbed Poles stayed in the state of stagnation until the 10th century, when the Piast period began, when Mieszko I decided to become Christian and get baptized. Whether he truly believed in the religion, used it to get alliances, or did it because of his zealous wife, Princess of Bohemia. This event has been romanticized in culture and is known as the Baptism of Poland. It creates a starting point of sorts for the Polish state and is considered by many the beginning of a proud and distinct Polish culture. However, it would take the rest of the Piast dynasty to unite Poland under this new Christian culture and convert a population who still held their tribal beliefs to these new foreign ideas. The following kings did much to found the Polish state. Boleslaw, for one, established a Polish church which became integral to converting the population to the new religion. He was also the one crowned the first official king of Poland in 1025. Then he died. During his reign, Poland truly became a European country. The author of the Gesta Principum Polonorum described the beautiful nights displayed to the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III during a congress. This spectacle must have clearly impressed Otto because he allied Boleslaw the Brave soon after. I attribute much of the success of the Polish state to Boleslaw instead of Mieszko and Casimir. Of course, that's not saying Casimir did nothing. After Boleslaw's death, the monarchy was in a fragile state. And since there are countless other videos about Casimir, and this video is supposed to be concise as the title says, let's just say he was not called the Restorer for nothing. The next king was excommunicated for adultery. Then he killed a bishop. So, yeah. The king after him was a bit better. Boleslaw III possessed the same military prowess as his great-grandfather, Boleslaw I. However, he made one crucial mistake, dividing his kingdom. In what was basically the king's will, the Testament of 1138, he divides his kingdom in a way sure not to cause infighting and division. Somehow, however, his flawless plan failed, and he single-handedly undid all the work it took to unify Poland in one document. And while they would hold off the Mongols a century later, by now the Piast monarchy was reduced to nothing, and Poland was once more fragmented. Subscribe for part 2, where we talk about Poland's reunification and history nerds' favorite topic, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, its rise, stagnation, and how it all came down so quickly once more.